Great. Well, we're at the beginning here, so I'd just like to say hello and welcome to the Reece Museum virtually.
Hey.
My name is, and if everyone real quick doesn't mind to mute your mics, and I'll get back to this so we don't get any interruptions. Thank you. So yes, my name is, for folks who don't know, my name is Spenser Brenner, and I'm the exhibition coordinator for the Reece Museum, and it is my pleasure to welcome everyone to the virtual reception for these two fine exhibitions, Field of Life, Monument Structures, which will continue to be open through March 19th, and Depth of Fields, open through March 26th. And I do want to quickly thank Wayne Dyer and his wonderful wife and partner, Barb Dyer, for all that they have done to make these exhibitions such a success in such challenging times. I've had the privilege to work with both Wayne, Barb, and the Dyer family for over 7 years, particularly with the Fletcher exhibit. And the passion that this family has for art is such a strong, positive force, and it continues to be such a force, as many of these artists on our panel well know. So thank you both for the opportunity to make this a reality. So tonight I will be serving as moderator and camera operator. I will be periodically turning on my spotlight to kind of focus on what we're discussing. So if any of this gets a little confusing, please let me know and I'll try to slow down the spotlighting. And for attendees, please use the Q&A function in this Zoom panel to pose questions for Wayne and the other panelists, all the artists involved in these shows. Even if those start populating in the beginning of our program, we'll do our best to answer all of everyone's questions. For this evening's program, we will begin with an introduction by M. Wayne Dyer, the artist of Field of Life, Monument Structures, which I'm in right now, and teacher of the artist featured in Depth of Fields. We will then move on to the alumni show, Depth of Fields, and I'll be asking the artists that are on our panel today to briefly introduce yourselves as I'm able to highlight the artwork that you have in the show. And at this point, I'm gonna turn things over to Wayne Dyer. If you could tell us a little bit about how these exhibits came together. And while you do that, I'll give folks a view of this exhibit, Field of Life.
Okay. Now can you hear me? Now, I want to first of all thank everyone that's in the show. And this show has probably been taking a lot more work than other shows because of us getting ready to have the show back in April of last year. And all of a sudden, the university closed everything down. And so that meant that we had to kind of go back and kind of figure out when we would actually be able to have the show again. And had a false run at it at the beginning. But and of course, the other thing is that part of what every artist does is when you have an exhibit or something like this, you prepare work, you get it ready, and you have it ready to exhibit. And it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of effort to put all the different parts together. Like we've had, we're putting a catalog together, which I'm actually doing now. And we've had to ask everyone to send in a little bit of information about their work or them and send in, dates and stuff like that. And it just adds to the amount of work that's involved in anything, but everyone has responded well, and we've gotten the information that we needed, and it's a thing that kind of has been great to do all along. The really great thing also has been I have probably talked to more of you in the past say year than I have since you graduated or whatever, and some of the people that are in the show went to, I had in my first semester at ETSU 37 years ago, and I'm not going to name their names unless they think it's okay. I don't want to show who the old timers are or anything, but I'm the old timer really. But basically, is a thing where we have had a lot of good years, and a lot of people that have gotten to know really well over the years when they're here as students. And it was really, first of all, when we started planning the show, the idea was that we'd all get together and be able to kind of see each other after so many years. And of course, immediately that was ruined last year. And then it hasn't gotten any better until now. It's getting better to where, a lot of people have their vaccines started or have at least had one shot or something. And I have had both of my shots as far as the vaccine. And it's something where, it was something that no one could predict that would happen. But I think that the exhibits look great. Of course, I think that when I thought about retiring, it was the idea of doing, first of all, a retrospective exhibit of my work, but then also I wanted to do something where people that I worked with over the years, that we could maybe get together. And that's why the alumni exhibit came about. And anyway, I think that I've been here since fall of '83, right? I have to be reminded of that. I can't, but it's been 37 years. And I did, just in case you didn't know, I think most of you may know, but I retired last June. It was June 30th that I officially was retired. And I'm an emeritus faculty member, or emeritus professor now. That's the official term. Anyway, it turned out that everything I think has come around and done really well. And actually, the exhibit, at times when we were trying to plan the exhibit, we were looking at all the work and wondering at first if we could get it all this together and make it all work. And it all actually has come together and looks well. It's amazing how nice the exhibit looks. We've had a lot of great comments on it. And anyway, we hope to, the alumni exhibit will be up for, my exhibit will be up another week after today. And the alumni exhibit will be up for a week more than that, right?
26th.
Till the 26th. And so it's, and we've had a lot of people to come here, especially to see the exhibits, both exhibits, and from different cities. And luckily, I've known about a number of them. Some of them I don't know much about, but it's been really a good thing. And right now, I guess what I'm in a way prepared to do whatever Spenser wants me to do. But if you, I wanted to go around to the different people that are the panelists and have you to kind of introduce yourselves. And and if you'd like to say things that are on your mind about your work or about whatever you want to talk about, like your work in your life or your favorite memory of your time at ETSU, maybe, or maybe not, it's up to you, or share thoughts that you may have about the exhibits. So anyway, we just wanted to open it up and let you come in and tell us what you think.
And I guess to make things a little bit easier, I'm just going to call on people in order that they're on my screen. If
Okay.
that's okay with everybody, not that there's any sort of hierarchy, but I think everyone's screen probably looks a little bit different. The first one will be, for me, it will be Nathan Little Warner. So if Nathan, you'd like to unmute and introduce yourself, please.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
All right,
Hey,
perfect.
Hello, my name is Nathan Little Warner. I graduated from ETSU back in 2018 with my BFA in graphic design. And like everybody else here, I was taught by Wayne. And after taking Wayne's class, the first class, which was, I believe it was advanced graphic design, I think, or intermediate graphic design is what it was. And that was when I really kind of got a passion for political art and developed an interest in expressing my ideas through political and social issues, which my pieces that you see right there, Kids Breathe Air, Not Natural Gas, was about the Atlantic Coast Pipeline that was going to be going through Appalachia, which was a natural gas pipeline, which is known to leak in the air. And, well, the name speaks for itself, Kids Breathe Air, Not Natural Gas, which was focusing on the future that our children will be dealing with, because the reality is neither of us would really be dealing with it. It's the future generations. Whereas the bottom piece, America 2018, that was, I developed that image during 2018 when there was a huge surge in spike in mass shootings and gun violence in the United States. And in the background, you can't really see it too well there, but those are a list of names of people that had been affected from gun violence, whether they were injured or they had lost their life. It was a combination of using typography and photography. And there is a sense of visual hierarchy in each certain piece. And each piece includes a link in the bottom right corner, which was either the source that I used or kind of as a way to a call to action, or kind of if you don't believe me, then look at the source I provided. Because I feel that those were important subjects for people to educate themselves on. Yeah, that's my little spiel. And again, one of the things that I loved about taking Wayne's class was the fact that he, if anything, he encouraged us to vent and express our opinions on these matters. And if anything, for me at least, I felt that it made me a better visual communicator in that sense.
And actually, when the piece that you mentioned, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, that piece was in the Fletcher exhibit, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
I can't remember. Was it 17 or?
It was when you graduated, and when?
I graduated 2018. The natural gas one was in the 2017 exhibit, and the America 2018 was during the 2018 exhibit.
Yeah.
2018 was it? Who's your?
17 was.
Thank you very much, Nathan. Yeah. And the next person on mine is Carrie Jenkins. If you'd like to join in, and I'll try to find your work.
It's right to the right of where you were.
To the right of where you are, yeah.
That's right, the great poster. Here we go.
All right. Well, I received my MFA in design and worked on that for quite some time because I was also busy with my own design studio there in Johnson City at the same time, as well as doing the graduate assistantship, thanks to Wayne and David helping me out with that. So I think you were asking about one of the times you remember as a good thing. I would have to say it was just before I graduated, which I graduated in December, which was, I guess, a little bit different, but that's just how it worked out for me. And I was talking to some of the students after one of the classes that I was teaching, and one of the girls asked me, well, what are you teaching next semester? Because she was interested in signing up. And I said, well, and there was another couple with her, and I said, well, actually I'm graduating, so I won't be teaching in the spring semester. And her face just dropped. and that just thrilled me that, I meant that much to the students, when I was, just a student myself. That was really what turned the light on for me that I wanted to teach. And I still had my studio when I graduated, but I went ahead and just for fun, even though I wasn't in any rush, I went ahead and sent some letters out just to see what would happen. And immediately got an offer from Methodist University here in Fayetteville, which is where I've been teaching ever since. Wasn't expecting to jump into it that quickly, but luckily, if any of you know Jane Hillhouse, she was willing to take on my client base and keep them happy. So I left things well taken care of, I believe, with Jane, and started teaching. So now that I did it, I kind of wish I'd done it sooner. Because it was, it definitely seems to be what I was meant to do. At least that's how I feel. The poster there that Spenser's showing is one of the annual ones that I've done for the music department here at Methodist. They do a music festival every spring semester, and it's a invitational where they get composers to come to the campus, except for last year, and perform some brand new work that they have. And the professor that I work with on these, who puts them together, he comes up with the theme and then just lets me take the theme and go with it. And so he told me for this one, music, myth, and legend was the theme. So I decided to go with a contemporary musical take on Medusa there. And the model was one of my graphic design majors at the time. And another one of my majors came in the photo studio with us, and I was up on a 6-foot ladder, kind of straddling her, shooting down at her. And one of the other students was kind of messing with her hair to, to get it ready for the picture. And then I had to illustrate the earbuds there. That was kind of a chore, but it was a fun project, and he enjoys. That's what I like. I wish all my clients that I've had in the past were like him, because he's so excited to just have me, come up with something and show him something, and he's ready to go with it. I've got another one of those on my website that's got some bagpipe players on it. That's kind of fun. But so I keep a little busy with some design, even though I am teaching, and really enjoy the career that Wayne and David and Catherine and everybody gave me the chance to pursue.
Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks.
And we're going to jump over next to Mr. Scott Mccrary.
Hey, well, thanks. First, I want to thank Wayne and everyone to be, it's just, I feel an honor to be really part of the exhibition. It's really a lot of good work. My wife and my son and I, we went up and viewed everyone's work, and just really impressed. The work is really good. And I have 4 pieces, and the one piece at the bottom was in Wayne's first class. I was one of Wayne's first students back in, I guess, '83.
He was the one I was thinking about before.
It was. I'm getting close to retirement too, so I'm not too far out. So that is an album cover that I thought it would be appropriate to have one of the first things that I did, and one of the first things that came out of Wayne's from his students, and that is a traditional airbrush, ink, and watercolor. It's an album cover, so that I just thought it was pretty cool to show it, and that was just I caught some bees, and there was a local band at the time I knew that was called Warrior, and so that's kind of how that came about, and that was during little bit after the hippie days, which I grew up in. So I based out the work that I have. When I was studying under Wayne, I had a really strong interest in painting and illustration and photography. I mean, I still do. I still paint, but I wanted to kind of show the work that sort of went together. And a lot of this is illustration and photography. So the bottom piece is traditional airbrush and watercolor. The top piece, the base bow, that is really an illustration that was created in Illustrator and Photoshop. So that, I've moved at this time, that was probably around 2002. I can't hardly remember. I don't have my notes in front of me, but
Right.
2002, okay. So, I made the transition to working, as a digital illustrator. And that was for actually a direct mail for Eastman Chemicals. So I spent 25, 26 years at Eastman after I graduated. Well, I worked for a couple of small advertising agencies before I went to Eastman. Worked at Homer Advertising, and I worked with Ken Blankenbecker, who had a studio. So those were the guys I worked with. And then I went to Eastman, and then and I got lucky enough to work with a couple of really good studio photographers, Larry Dean, and Larry is the one I worked with on the Suckers and the Pelican. That was an early composite. We shot the Pelican and the Suckers in the studio at Eastman, and that was for a concept for the local ad agents or the American, the AAF, American Advertising Federation, yes, for the Addies. And I think that was a concept. They were submitting some ideas. And so anyway, that was one I came up with. It wasn't used, but I always liked that. I was playing on How Sweet It Is. That was the theme that year. That was probably around 2001, I'm thinking. But anyway, that was a collaboration with Larry. And then the smaller one that's in the middle, that was the cover of Eastman Sustainability Report. And that collaborated with Ben Downey, Carla Oveson, and I'm trying to think, Bill Jones. He did the molecules, but that's really all original photography. We shot from the sky, the grass. We actually bought butterflies that were actually dead. You can buy dead butterflies and bring them and soak them in water and we brought them back to life. But basically that was a design concept I developed and wrote the headline, and that was a bit of a challenge because at the time that was when they didn't really want to show a hand that was a man or woman or Hispanic or Caucasian. So it ended up, I think I used like a 14-year-old young girl's hand, and I think she was Hispanic. So they wanted to have a hand you couldn't really identify. That was crazy, but that was a fun project too. So, but I was just spreading the projects out. I think that was created in 2011. Yeah. And, but I guess probably one of the things I remember is going with Wayne over to High Point. I saw one of the ladies was from High Point. Do you remember that, Wayne? That was a big studio.
I've been there, went there so many times, I don't remember.
Yes, and this was when, I guess, Alderman Studio. That was probably one of the biggest studios, on the East Coast at the time. And
it was actually, they billed themselves at that time when you went as the largest studio probably in the country.
It was huge. I mean, this was pre-digital, and it was just, I remember the prop room. I'm sure you remember, you went a bunch. I mean, it was like a super Walmart. You could just go and pick anything. I mean, if it was old Lincoln Logs or whatever, but I remember they were shooting something for the Architectural Digest, the cover, but it was really high-end work. I mean, it was really good. And then the studio photographer, what was his name? He worked there for a little. They graduated around.
You're talking about Charles Alexander? I've had a number of people that have.
I can't remember his name, but he was I don't think it was Charles. Yeah, it's terrible. Mine's a terrible thing to lose, and mine's just about gone, Wayne. But I remember that I had a lot of good memories, from shooting some of the old photos in the studio. Just we had a lot of fun times. I mean, they were really some of the best memories of my life was during ETSU and stuff. And it's funny, I'm 60 now, and you don't really realize the best times of your life when it's happening. So, but those were great times, and I really appreciate everything I learned from Wayne, from kerning text to, just a lot of just learning good design and, typography, things like that in the studio, bringing the old plexiglass and learning to shoot things on plexiglass and reflections and how to hide reflections. And later, as I started working in the studio at Eastman, all of those things, I remember, hey, we have to build, let's get the foam core and, and things and block it in and just have the lens and you start, and we have plexiglass, the smile tabletops, and just a lot of good things, and how to spec type. Well, you and I talked when I met you and Barb, when I was bringing the work up, how to spec type back in the old days when you had to be on the typography, back when it was manually done pre-computer.
Thank you so much.
You were doing it then.
Yes.
Oh man,
they were great memories, a lot of great memories, and I appreciate being part of the exhibit.
But it's really nice of you to say that. But the reality, I learned a lot from all of you too, everyone here and people that aren't even here. So I mean, it's like it was a learning process for me every day. The people that I met and I think that the kind of the interesting situations, what everyone had to offer. And you've all, well, we've known each other ever since. We've kind of stayed in touch in a way, not really daily, but seen each other through the years. And it's really been great to have you as a friend.
Well, likewise, Wayne. It's same here. It's been a privilege. Lucky.
And Scott was the one I was talking about. He was the first student, a group of students, but he was in that group of the first students that I taught at ETSU. And,
83. I was
83.
83.
Well, thank you for that. And I'm sorry to cut everyone off. I want to get everyone on the panel, and we're slowly, that clock is ticking. So I'm gonna jump on over to Mira Bridges, if she'd like to introduce herself.
Oh boy. Well, I'm Mira Bridges. I got my degree, my undergraduate degree. It's been a while back in 2012, spring of 2012, with my bachelor's in fine art with an emphasis in graphic design. And I worked several years in the advertising industry. Started out as a graphic designer, worked my way up to art director, and I guess it's been about a year and a half ago now that I switched over to become a copywriter. So took a little bit of turn in direction there, but obviously I still enjoy getting my hands dirty and working in the art medium. But yeah, so the piece here in the show, it's the one at the top. It's called The Miscarriage of Ideas, and it's really just about kind of the harder part of working in the advertising industry. And it was just kind of an exploration and catharsis for me. Just kind of the creative process in the commercial world can be very demanding and very draining. And sometimes you need to just take a little bit of time for yourself and make something to get all those emotions out. So that's what I did. And it's just kind of a study in the mentally, emotionally, and even kind of physically draining side of advertising. For all of its good parts, it is still a very demanding field, like anything where you're using your creativity. So that's really what the piece is about. I used a lot of symbolism in it to kind of speak to that narrative. But yeah, so that's kind of it. And then as far as, just kind of memories and my experience there at ETSU goes, it definitely was a really great time. It was one of my favorite times, just being in the art department and just the sense of community there, among the people, the professors, but also the students is just really nice. And I was going to throw out the Otterman trip as well. That was something that stuck out in my memory, and it was a good time. I remember I rode separately, and I was basically burning rubber trying to keep up with Wayne on those mountain roads. It was a good time. But yeah, I really enjoyed studio photography with you, Wayne. It was just a really fun medium to work in, and the actual class sessions were just a lot of fun with all the interaction and everything happening in the classroom. But I would also say that as much of a wealth of knowledge as Wayne was for me in my academic studies, and just kind of teaching me the tricks of the trade and all of that, I think what was even more impactful for me as one of your students was just the simple interactions, the elevator conversations in Ball Hall, and just kind of being able to have you as a sounding board in my life was really nice. So
Well, there are some people that I still have see quite often. As a matter of fact, some that are on this Zoom thing that where I see quite often, talk to quite often, even on the phone. So it's like, it's really, you can always stay in touch.
And Mira,
sure.
if I could say something, you were always there in the worst moments that I remember during our time at ETSU. And you and your sister and your mom were there
that's right.
when we lost Fletcher. And your face will never leave my memory when I think of a lot of those times.
Well, your sister and
it
your
really
mom
helped.
too.
It really helped to have all of you support us. So thank you.
Absolutely. I'm glad I could offer that support. And I hope Wayne's going to take you to the beach more now with retirement. So
Well, well, we have our shots, so it's kind of like a rabies shot.
We can't seem to get rid of all of this work. We're still working.
Well, as soon as we finish this show, I've got to clear out my office. I still haven't gotten that cleared out. And if you've ever seen my office, you probably have.
The job.
There's a lot of crap still in there, and I even pulled some of it out, but it's not all gone yet. For sure.
So anyway, I know we're
much,
holding Spenser up.
Okay.
Well, I just want to make sure we give everyone a chance to talk.
I know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mira. And yes, so since right below Mira is Katherine Thrower, some of her photography, I thought I'd throw it to her.
Katherine.
I was unmuting myself.
There she is.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Katherine Thrower, and I'm originally from Southwest Virginia, and I lived in Johnson City for around 11 years, and 5 of which I went to ETSU. And I studied lots of things because I'm interested in too many things. So I had Wayne as an advisor when I first got there, and which there wasn't much of a whole lot of an interaction, but I did take classes with Fletcher, and him and I became friends, and that's basically what watered the seed of that flower. But these are oil paintings, the top one and the bottom one. And the top one is older, but I've worked on it multiple times. And I feel like I'm at a point of where I pretty much like it, I think. But I never got to have Wayne as a painting professor. But Fletcher spent a lot of time with me while I was painting in the painting studio. He kept me company a lot. That was when I made that bacon Halloween costume.
We'll never forget that one.
We still got it here.
So the top one is a self-portrait, and that was based on a character, like the concept is based on a character out of Hamlet, Ophelia, but it is a self-portrait. And then the bottom one actually does have more to do with Wayne, because when I painted this, it was right after I took I did an artist in residency with Wayne in the photography department, and I got to study more about photography to figure out what techniques I liked the most, and which will also take us to the photography. So there are two other pieces that I did actually during that residency, and I spent a lot of my career in the beauty cosmetics world. So if it looks a little fashiony or beauty, that's why. But you know, I do really enjoy things like that. Like, well, specifically with texture, there's something about texture that I'm really drawn to, and the contrast of those different textures that I really enjoy. I guess that's it.
Thank you, Catherine. And I guess it makes sense just to move on over to Rosie.
Yes, I'm Rosie Adams. Oh my gosh, I never realized it looks like there's a big penis in that painting. Wayne, why didn't you tell me?
Well, I've wondered for years.
I was really a late bloomer. I finished my undergraduate at the University of Wisconsin in 1964. So none of you guys are old. I'm the old gal in the group. And I came back to school because I didn't want to face the empty nest syndrome, and I was taking classes for fun. And then someone said, "What are you doing here?" And of course, you have that little Catholic Italian guilt that I grew up with. And I thought, oh my God, I shouldn't be here. And the professor said to me, "You should be getting your MFA." And of course, I painting is my major and ceramics was my minor, with Lynn Whitehead. Some of you may remember her. She'll bring tears to my eye. But everybody was so dear to me, but Wayne was especially special, and so was Barbara. And I knew he's the one I wanted to study painting with, even though there were other instructors teaching painting then. And I took painting from everybody just because I wanted the exposure. You know, I guess I'm a forever student. But it was just a wonderful experience. And as we're talking, I'm thinking about Carson Hall, and probably none of you ever knew about Carson Hall.
None of them know what that is now.
No, it's not there anymore. But you know, the walls, if it rained, there'd be rain coming down the walls. But we had, graduate studios in there, and it was a great experience, a real community. But I was very fortunate to have Wayne and Barbara in my life at a time that was not the happiest time in my life, but everything turned out really wonderful. You never know what God has in store for you, for sure. I ended up graduating, and I didn't know what I was going to do. There was an art teacher back in undergraduate said, if you're going to be a painter, you better know how to type and wait and be a waitress. That was not very encouraging, was it? But I sent out resumes, and I happened to send a resume to Northeast State. And I know people used to make fun of, teaching at Airport U, but it ended up being a wonderful experience for me. They hired me to set up an art department because they were transferring from a technical school to a university parallel. And so it was just all the things that Wayne taught me about teaching about being, giving constructive criticism to people and being very kind, that really stuck with me, Wayne. And I have to thank you for that. And Barbara too. for that. And the other memories, I think, is you had 3 little children that were running around and they'd be in your office. And look at this wonderful woman that grew up to be such a wonderful artist in her own right. So good genes in your family for sure. So, but I retired and moved to Louisville because I had family here. I have family here. And I got bored and I applied and I ended up teaching at the community college here. And one of the most rewarding things was they hired me to teach in the prison. And I thought, oh my God, what's going to go on? It ended up being so rewarding. I taught, there are 4 prisons. There's a women's prison and a 3 men's prison. And they could work on their associate degree and go on, to a 4-year degree. And I really became really attached. And of course, I also taught on campus too. So that's sort of my life. And being retired is wonderful. I don't want to keep it. I don't want to. There's lots of other people who have things they want to talk about. But just, Wayne, thank you so much for inviting me and to connect with you and Barbara. It's just been wonderful. You really have been. You have a special place in my heart forever, ever.
Well, you have a special place.
I love you guys.
For sure.
And actually, when you mentioned Carson Hall, and I think of all the people that we had a group of graduate students that worked all together, and that was really one of the best times ever.
Yeah. So, but thank you for all you taught me, and you made me a better teacher for sure. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for participating.
Thanks, Rosie. Now we're going to move on over to Mark Compton.
Go, Mark.
Well, my time, I graduated, I guess, in 2012 officially, although it seems like it was a long time while I was there. I have gotten 2 degrees from ETSU. My first degree was in cross-cultural tourism development, and that involved creating a film festival for my thesis, which was SOPIF, which stood for Southern Appalachian International Film Festival. And that carried on for 7 years, I believe, total. But through that, Wayne came to me and said, Mark, get your MFA. You want to be a filmmaker. And I still dabble in screenwriting, and I'm about to buy my first aerial camera, drone camera. And so beware, guys, beware. But I also have a love for photography. I enjoyed my photography class, the studio, and things of that sort. But I was also real lucky to have a friend in Rayanne Rubenstein. She recently passed November of 19, and she encouraged me to use a camera and to take photographs and document. And this particular picture that you're looking at is a picture that I took in Jupiter whenever I was teaching at AB Tech there in Jupiter, North Carolina, right off the interstate. If you drive real slowly going toward Johnson City and look over your shoulder there, you'll see this barn off to the edge. But I have this fascination with imagery, with architecture that is decaying, that is dying, that is something that is from the past, that are relics, sort of archaeology above ground, if you want to say. But that's was that piece. This other piece is from Prague. I've been doing a lot of international traveling of late, and I have a tendency to take pictures of solitary people as they're walking down the city streets within their environment. And this is Prague early in the morning. I just crossed over the St. Charles Bridge, and if any of you know Prague at all, it's filled with all of these wonderful statues along the way. But it's the textures of a city, environment that you can capture. It just it sets a mood, and the shadows, you know, that you see in all of my work. You know, it sort of frames the subject matter. I like to frame something, you know, within the frame. And so, but now, you know, I'm teaching. I teach film as art. I just recently showed a film in one of my art appreciation classes, and my students thanked me, and they thanked me for different things at different times. But I had a student that thanked me for showing them the English Patient. And the reason that she was thankful was that she was unaware that part of World War II took place in Africa. I mean, she's already gone through high school and had no idea. And when you think about what art is capable of doing, how art is capable of educating, how imagery that takes part of history, and both of these photographs capture history, you know, things that are going by, and their place in time, and you know, it's extremely important, you know, that we realize our history and know where we come from and sort of get an idea of where we're going. And so, but I can't tell y'all how much Wayne and Barb mean to me. They got me through some difficult times. I was there whenever Fletcher passed. My heart has broke some. You know, what a great talent he was. I'm glad that the Fletcher exhibits are going on and are doing extremely well. You know, I'm lost for other words to say, but thank you. You know, y'all are like second parents, and I love you dearly, both of you.
We
Love
feel
you
the
too.
same.
And Carrie, you're my baby sister. You hear me?
Thank you, Mark. And next, I'm just gonna bump on down the wall. We're gonna jump over to Mr. Art Brown.
Oh, is Art here?
Hello, everybody.
Oh, great.
Hi. Yeah, so to talk about that work, I graduated for the first time from ETSU with my BFA in 1995, and then worked in the business for about 15 years as a graphic designer, and started back to get my MFA in 2010. And like many of you, I was sort of in the extended plan, so I didn't get out of there till 2014 because I was working full time and teaching at Milligan, and then for a little while teaching at ETSU as well. So it was kind of weird back then. So yeah, the piece that's in the center, well, let's see. I'll start with the weird jellyfish looking thing. Is in graduate school, I had really become interested in printing with wood type, and had been interested in hat show print in Nashville, went down there for a workshop, and then just started scouring eBay for wood type that I could afford and printing from it, and starting overlapping words, and made these wonderful backgrounds, but I never could figure out what image to start putting on top of those things because it wasn't gelling in my head. So first of all, Wayne, thanks for your patience with me, especially. I know many days when I was printing, you guys were leaving for the day as I was coming in and hauling all of my stuff in. So, and that's where we usually met, was on the elevator at some point. But this piece I always thought it's called The Eavesdropper. And I thought it was a breakthrough for me because I finally figured out how to create these weird, dark robots that were the metaphor for all of those words. The visual for all of those words I was overlapping in the background with the wood type. And you gave me some really good advice. I would say, first of all, you told me to work bigger, which I did, and then was still having trouble figuring it out. And then you told me to stop trying to plan every single layer and everything. Your work gets worse when you try to do that. So, and so I decided just to sort of let it go and let those incidents of overlap just happen. And that sort of helped everything sort of gel in my brain. And to go through these pieces really quickly, the weird guy in the tie, not in the middle, but on the left, that is a piece called Building Yet Another Politician with Preacher Hair. And that was a piece I worked on in the summer, right before my MFA show. And it was my last piece that I did. But I remember being just really frustrated. It was sort of a mid-election cycle. And I was trying to picture, it's like, why is it, we had gotten rid of some politicians I didn't like in the 2012 election, but it just seemed like as soon as we got rid of some worse ones came back. Now, little did I know 2016 would happen, but still, this was sort of, it's like every time we get rid of one, they just rebuild one and put it in its place. And so this was this weird robot politician preacher with a terrible hairpiece that came out of my head that summer. And then the little guy in the middle, also wearing a tie, oddly enough, I was just really frustrated with my job. Now, my job right now is I teach at Milligan University, and I started the graphic design major there. But building up to that, there was a point in time when they had approved the graphic design major, but didn't fund the faculty position. So I was stuck working the jobs I was hoping to get out of for another year. And I was mad. And so this was sort of a piece I challenged myself not to do a robot, but do more organic shapes. I always joke with my students, this is my turkey hand for Thanksgiving. But it was I was just forcing myself to just work with different shapes, and but ended up throwing in a lot of self-portrait things about just being unhappy, and these are the wounds we carry. And it's sort of a love-hate piece with a lot of people, but a lot of people see the emotion in it. So that's sort of where that lives. But that one's titled We All Thought We'd Be Someone. It's when you're sort of stuck in a place where you don't want to be, and you wish you were somewhere else. And so that's where that piece came from. But just thank you for your good advice. Thank you for helping me get into graphic design in the first place. One of my favorite classes was typography in the fall of '91. Is one of those that I really remember as being I guess transformational at the time, me finally getting things. And I know it takes a while for things to sink into my head, but and then later in grad school, just having some patience as I sorted things out, because when I started grad school, I was burnt from working at the Tombras Group for 5 years, and was just really trying to, I guess, find myself as an artist again through sort of this side medium of graphic design. Yeah. But I just have to say thank you for helping me refine that and rediscover that.
Well, I enjoyed every minute of it, and you didn't seem to me, from my side, I didn't see you necessarily struggling to maybe the way you have it, but I do remember our conversations about your work and how at first I think that you were trying to do prints, to do more printmaking things, and what really I think really made a difference is that you changed to doing, working with those blocks and things like that as just being willing to be more random and all that, to like paint, to just make a painting.
Yeah. That made all the difference.
Yeah. Anyway, I enjoyed it, Art.
Oh, well, thank you.
And of all the students I've had, you have the perfect name for an art student.
Oh, I know.
Art Brown. Can you beat it?
Yeah. Oh,
Great.
I've always considered going by Arthur, but it's like, no.
No, I think that's perfect.
Thank you, Art.
Named you well.
All right, thank you.
I was going to tell you, Art, my wife and son, they loved your work too. I mean, when we went, it was really nice. I just wanted to, all the work was nice, but they really got into it. It was good. So I just thought I would share that.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Right. I know we're getting to the last 10 minutes or so. So we have 3 more artists, and we're going to jump over next to Wendy Blair. She has 2 works. So I'll start with your larger photograph right behind me.
Wow. Well, I just want to thank you, Wayne, for inviting me to be in the show. And I came to Wayne from sculpture, which was a little bit different, crossing over into graphic design and photography. And it was probably more difficult for him than it was for me, but I really just, I love photography. I love it. I'm always taking pictures, and I'm always looking for those shapes that are symmetrical and clean and crisp. So that's just what I do as far as the photography. As far as the digital imaging goes, I like to take photographs and push them in more of a digital way. I love Photoshop, and Wayne taught me so much about Photoshop. Actually, Carrie did too. So Photoshop is something that I really appreciate. Illustrator too, but especially Photoshop. And now as a high school teacher, as well as teaching sculpture 1, 2, and AP, I also teach digital imaging, which includes Photoshop as well as AP digital imaging. So this was a former student in Memphis, Tennessee, and I kind of like to take those images and kind of push them in a little bit different direction than just traditional photography. So I thank you, Wayne. I really learned a lot. It
You're
was
welcome.
amazing. It was amazing that I even came out of this, but I did. And it's just helped me in just so many ways. So thank you. And thank you, Barbara, too.
Oh,
You're welcome.
I was just there.
Well, basically it was you know, a lot of stuff to deal with as far as the you know, working, but I mean, it's basically you did some really interesting work as a graphic designer, and I feel like at your you know, the things that you did were pretty exciting. I think the photograph that's in the show, that one especially, the one with the shadows, I think is what's called.
Yes.
Is really a nice piece, you know. So
Well, thank you. And thank you. And thank you both.
sure.
And thank you.
for participating.
Yeah.
And right, the neighbor right next door to Wendy's big photograph is another photographer, Joshua K. Haar.
Okay. Joshua.
All right. I'm Joshua Haar, and I graduated in 2020. And I just want to thank you, Wayne, for putting this together. I really do appreciate it. And your encouragement over the last 3 years of UTSU was very paramount and important for me. I came to a point where I was kind of stuck, if you will. I had a large project I was working on. Mike had retired, and I really needed something else to do to focus on. And I was able to do that, you know, with your encouragement and support. I kind of needed to start just playing again with photography, and it all started with kind of a cynical joke after working in the restaurant industry for quite some time. And I realized I actually could resolve this joke and have a deeper meaning. Let's see, how could I say this? But yeah, you always encourage me to challenge myself. And in this also, I think I was able to actually challenge the viewer and their preconceived notions of what beauty might be, what art might be also. And in that, you know, working in the culinary world, it's very overly critical. And there's a saturation of food photography and advertisement, really, you know, created to trick the viewer, you know, to have them respond to food cues, to make them, you know, salivate and want to eat food that they probably do not even want to eat. And I don't know, I really attacked that pretty good, made a parody of it. But in that, it's called culinary catharsis. It was actually a cathartic experience for myself to create this, because I had a lot of cynicism built up over the years, and making light of it and, something, humorous, if you will, out of it was healing for me. And I now realize with my art that if I can heal from this, then other people can too. And it's not just necessarily restaurant workers, because everybody's bombarded, with pictures of food on TV, social media. Hell, just buy food. It's got a picture on the box. You can't run from it, unless you're blind, I guess. But I'm sure they would hear a Taco Bell commercial, And if it wasn't for being in your class, I don't think this work would have ever been created. And you gave me a lot of freedom in this. I had that macro lens, I think, for 3 years straight. And I just really appreciate it so much. It's actually very freeing and refreshing for me to make this project. And I'm actually very proud of this work. I think more than anything I've ever created.
Wow.
And I really want to thank you, Wayne. It
Wow.
means a lot.
That's really nice of you to thank me, but I mean, I think that your work kind of, I mean, I don't know if I know that some of you have seen the pieces in the show, but he has had a whole show of these pieces, and they were really striking and really a beautiful exhibit. Anyway, Josh, you, I mean, I love getting credit for it, but you were the one that really did it. You put it all together, and it's really wonderful. I mean, I loved what you were doing, and I think that a lot of the things that no one else sees that I saw is that like we see the end photograph here, or in your shows we saw the end photograph, but the reality is that you had thousands of photographs that you chose from, and you did not,
didn't work out, and about 8,500 images just to show 11.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Anyway, I appreciate it. Thank you. And I'm glad you could be a part of the show.
Oh yeah, it's pretty rad.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Josh, for both, contributing to the show and speaking. And I think it's only fitting that we go full circle, that we start with a Dyer and we end with a Dyer. So I'm going to mosey on over to some of Carrie's work, and if she would like to speak about it a little bit.
So I had to make sure I was unmuted. Sorry about that, but I'll kind of wait for you to get over there a little bit. But I guess I can introduce myself. I'm actually Wayne's daughter, which most of you guys probably know. It's actually really cool and such an honor to be a part of this group, because I feel like this is kind of an extended family, and thank you for having me to be a part of this. It's definitely a unique situation having my father as a professor, and has been really a great experience as far as having him as a supporter and somebody to push me through all these different experiences. But so I graduated from ETSU in 2004 with a BFA, emphasis in graphic design, and from there I've worked both in the industry, and I then in graduate school kind of gravitated towards teaching through I tutored and things like that, and I also taught as a TA in graduate school, and that was a really great experience for me, as far as I liked the idea of giving back and helping people achieve the things they're interested in achieving as far as design and otherwise. So I decided to be a teacher, which is kind of funny, because my dad does a similar thing, and it wasn't really planned that way, but it kind of happened and felt right. And so since I graduated from my MFA, I've been teaching in higher education technically since 2005. And I've taught at different schools, the School of the Art Institute of Chicago and a university in Arkansas, as well as Kentucky, and now currently I'm actually in High Point, North Carolina, which is like also kind of funny because I remember going on a field trip there when I was at ETSU in studio photography, as well as most of you. So
a lot of the people that are here remember those.
So it's really kind of ironic that I'm living in High Point, North Carolina, but anyway, it's so I teach at High Point University, and that's been a really great and exciting experience. And I was actually brought there to to help push forward a graphic design program that is NASA accredited with a BFA degree. But anyway, I'll kind of talk a little bit about my work. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but since I was young, I was interested in different types of media. I love the fact that graphic design is a way to practically communicate with viewers. But I also love the idea that graphic design and art both have the ability to communicate emotion. And so with my work that you're looking at here, like I'm really interested in creating these almost metaphoric psychological spaces that investigate like different states of awareness, and that are really kind of like expressive and reactive and really deal heavily with emotion. And within these pieces, you can see probably that I'm interested in different types of media, including drawing and mixing digital aspects and things like that. These four that you're seeing here are digitally manipulated, and there's also analog actual skill sets involved, but they're actually printed on canvas. And then the other pieces that Spenser was showing earlier are on transparency. And so that's another kind of form that I've been working in. But anyway, I won't go on and on about my work, but I'm really honored to be here. And thank you, Dad, for all the wonderful experiences that you've given me and pushed me through with both art and design. And thank you.
Well, the amazing thing is that all of my students, or a lot of my students, have the experience of going to Alderman's studio or one of the studios in High Point, North Carolina at some point, especially if you had studio photography. Anyway.
Thank you.
We got through everybody, right?
And yes, I wanted to give everyone a little shout out for everyone that's part of this panel, and for those that weren't able to be with us tonight. We definitely want to make sure that everyone's recognized. But at the same time, I'd like to just remind folks before I hand it off to Wayne for some final words, that this exhibition that we're in right now, Depth of Fields, will be open until March 26th. So you can still come to the museum 9 to 4:30, Monday through Friday, and see this physically. I'm not wearing a mask because I'm here alone right now in this gallery, but we do wear masks and we have safety precautions in place. And then Wayne's retrospective, Monument Structures, will be open until next Friday, March 19th. So if any of the panelists are local and are able to check it out, please come by. Otherwise, encourage your friends and family in the area to do so. And this program right here, I'll be trying to edit together a little bit, and I hope to have it on the Reece Museum YouTube channel by next week, but make sure to notify all the panelists. And then of course on social media, our website, Reece Museum, etsu.edu/Reece, REECE. And we post everything that we're putting out there. So from our part and from the Reece Museum, we thank Wayne and Barb Dyer, particularly Wayne, for putting together your own retrospective and organizing all of this. It's 2 years in the making, and I think it was well worth it, all things considered. So thank you, and we appreciate all of our panelists, not only for your artwork, but for your kind and inspirational words tonight. So I'd like to hand it to Wayne for some final thoughts before we adjourn this meeting.
Okay. Well, I think that it's been fun to see people after so many years. Some of you I hadn't seen in a while, but it's like it's really nice to see see you together, but also nice to see the work that you've been doing and the things that have been happening since graduation. And actually, Scott had a piece that was done back when he was a student, which was kind of Scott Mccrary. Scott, you're still here? Anyway, he back when we were when he was a student, which I thought it was kind of interesting to see that after so many years. I had a slide of it that I had from as an example, but that's pretty interesting. But anyway, I've really enjoyed it. If any of you, this is the end of the program, but I think we can hang on if you wanted to talk about anything else before we leave. But or you all are welcome to at any time give me a call or whatever. I'll be love to chat with you. But it's been so great to have all of you here, and actually Spenser was I'm going to sell something, Spenser. When he started at the university, he was a student worker for me during his first semester or two. I don't know how long it was, but I think they got to know how good he was, and somebody else grabbed him up pretty quickly, I think. But anyway, but I've known Spenser for a long time too, and he never had a class with me. I guess that was a smart thing he did.
You taught me nonetheless.
You taught me. Anyway, it's been nice. I don't know who's is. I see Art Brown. I see Wendy. I know Carrie's here, and Josh Har. And let's see, am I missing some? Is Scott Mccrary?
I'm still here, Wayne.
Still there. Okay. Hey, how you doing, Scott? And just wanted to kind of say bye before we adjourn here. And I really I want to talk to all of you more. And if we were at an actual opening, we could. That's one of the things about being in person. And Rosie, after so many years, it was so nice to see you again, talk to you again. I mean, and actually, this is the first time I've seen you in a number of years because we were on phones before and when we were talking. So anyway, I think you're muted. You might be muted.
I get it. I get them. It's typical Zoom for an older lady, but I graduated in 91. So you see how long ago it's been. So. But I have great memories.
Yeah, I do too. And we have some memories that we've talked about before about all the groups together that we worked with. And Rosie did a lot of things. I think you did you teach as a graduate student or something? Or I remember you.
I came back and taught after I graduated as an adjunct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I taught and that, so that was good. And I think I might have did a student worker thing with David Dixon.
Yeah. Okay.
At something. So I was around in and out.
Okay.
So, but a lot of people it's bringing back lots of really excellent memories. But I think of Carrie with her drawings in your office when she was about 6 or 7 years old. Oh, God.
Yeah, I would bring Carrie in with me to when I was in my, back then, Scott, you remember this, Scott Mccrary, you remember that back when the early days, we didn't use computers. We actually went in the dark room and made things and all that stuff. And actually had to do a lot of things that we don't do now. But
it was tough editing text back then.
Yeah. But I remember I did my first years at ETSU. I did a lot of freelance, and I would come over to my office and work, and because that was where I had something to work with. And basically, Carrie would come with me. And one day I remember her leaving the Huh?
She was about 3 or
She was
4.
about 3 or 4, something like that. And she left my office, and I wondered where she was. Now I'm starting to search all over the building for her in Ball Hall. And the next thing I know, I'm in the office, and there she is sitting in the chair on Jack Schrader's in Jack Schrader's office,
He's the
talking to
chair.
him. If y'all remember Jack Schrader,
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
right,
I mean,
He was the chair.
he was the chair then.
right.
And, and I have no idea what they were talking about, but they were having a long conversation. Anyway, he was, I know that my perception is that a lot of the students were kind of afraid of Jack over the years, because he was so stoic and all that. But Carrie wasn't afraid of him, and neither was I. I mean, I really knew him well, and we got to know each other pretty well. I know some faculty members that came after that. Some of them were afraid of him. He died while he was chair of the department, but they were even afraid of him later on. So it was he was a man that commanded a lot of attention, I think, and I really enjoyed knowing him. But I know that the day that Carrie disappeared and went down to his office, I found her there. I was really surprised, and she hasn't told me to this day what they were talking about.
But she did get charged for some supplies.
Yeah, she would go. She had a habit of going into the art office, and when she'd go into the art office, there would be supplies. Well, she would grab Post-it notes and pencils and whatever, any kind of supplies she could get. And but they had noticed this. The office had noticed this, and so they gave me a bill for all the supplies that she and put it in my box. It was a joke. I mean, they really didn't expect me to pay.
That was probably Carolyn Jackson.
Yeah, Caroline. Yeah. She was.
Well, I just want to say again, thanks to everyone for such a panel and such a exhibition, and I hope everyone's able to connect again. But for the reception tonight, we're going to have to call it a reception. So thanks everyone again for their participation, and again to Wayne and the Dyers for organizing this.
Thank you, Spencer.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful night, and again, encourage your friends and family to check out the exhibits while they're still up, and look forward to this program on YouTube. Hopefully I'll have it up by next week.
And I assume all of you probably know about the videos that are already up about the show, the walkthroughs for the shows.
Yes, you can see those on our YouTube channel. They're also on our website.
Channel, or you can actually go to my, I have them posted on my website also, if you, M. Wayne Dyer. So
great. Well, again, thanks everyone, and have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.